Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Germany, 1933. Hitler and his Nazi party rise to power by rekindling one of the world's oldest forms of prejudice and hate, anti-Semitism. His rule didn't begin with mass murder. It started slowly across economic, political, social, and cultural life. Propaganda demonizing Jews, boycotts of Jewish businesses, synagogues defaced with swastikas, harassment of Jews in the street and in the schools, anti-Semitic demonstrations, pogroms, organized riots. With the indifference of the world, Hitler knew he could expand his reign of terror by eliminating Jews from Germany to annihilate Jews across Europe through genocide, the Nazis called the final solution. Concentration camps, gas chambers, mass shootings. By the time the war ended, 6 million Jews, 1 out of every 3 Jews in the entire world, were murdered. This ancient hatred of Jews didn't begin with the Holocaust. It didn't end with the Holocaust either, or even after our victory in World War II. This hatred continues to lie deep in the hearts of too many people in the world.
How is this even close? Somebody's going to have to explain to me, how is this even close? The other guy is being described as having a mushroom dick in a court while the witness is under oath. I mean, come on. How is this happening in these here United States of America? I don't understand it, but the split screen is staggeringly stunning. It's like, anybody who says, but they're both the same, or both parties, or the uniparty, or the both guys, or the split screen is so dramatic. The difference between the two men is stark. It's unbelievably different. I mean, I don't even, before lunch break today, I have to boil my body, you understand? And all I'm doing is reading a Google Doc. I can't even see the damn thing. Can't even watch this trial. Can't even hear the testimony. Can't even participate in the justice that's about to be meted out to a guy who apparently the judge told yesterday, okay, this is your 10th time being held in contempt of court, but Mr. Trump, 11 strikes and you're out. Is that how the justice system rolls now? 11 strikes and you're out, 10 is okay. I mean, I had to sit there and read a Google document. Stormy Daniels is on the stand telling everybody about how traumatic, the 30 seconds underneath him was, that she was shaking so bad when it was over from, just disgust over the whole thing. She couldn't get her shoes on. Really? I don't want to hear this before lunch. I don't want to hear this after lunch. I don't want to hear this before dinner, after dinner, during dinner. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear it. And apparently it went way, way, way out in left field. If I hear one more legal expert tell me it doesn't matter if they had sex, okay? It does to her. You understand that? Oh, my God. They keep on saying that the entry-level offense, which was this tryst, where he reassured her, A, I don't sleep in the same room with my wife who just had my child. I mean, Barron was like, you realize all this happened in 2006. 2006, and I got to hear about it now? I don't want to hear about it now. I don't want to hear about any of it now. 11 times this guy has, and today he actually did his 11th, violation of the gag order because he criticized Stormy Daniels. She's a witness. That's what the gag order says he cannot do. I don't understand it. I really don't know where we're going. I don't understand why we're here. I can't figure out what America sees in this guy. I can't figure out, why anybody would tolerate this kind of a person and entertain the idea that they may or should be or could be the leader of the free world. When these are people, I mean, waking up every morning when Donald Trump was president, it was like drinking news from a freaking fire hose. It was like blasting in your face all the crap that happened overnight. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, man sitting on a toilet, like tweeting off his emotional distress about this or that one and this one, and everybody needs to organize around hating that person or hate this person. I'm never. And now you have a president that stood up there today. Today's Holocaust Remembrance Day. Don't go looking for a Hallmark card. There isn't any. Although apparently, some haters in this country would love to have a Holocaust Remembrance card. They would love to be saying Happy Holocaust. They would love that. I'm looking at the amount of hatred that is causing violence in this country, and apparently the top 3 groups that get violence visited upon them by white supremacists in this nation, who would send a Happy Holocaust card to any of their friends anytime there was one available, right? It looks like it's Jews, blacks, and gays. What is that about? What is that? I mean, I understand some guys are just like freaked out that they might be gay, but you know whether or not you're black. And if you're not circumcised, you're not a Jew. Hello, look down. I don't understand it. I really don't. But the amount of anti-Semitic attacks in this country has gone through the ceiling, through the roof. Jews will not replace us. Charlottesville was just the tip of the iceberg of hate. It was just the beginning. And there are people in this country that are telling, giving people permission to really hate Jews, really hate them. Like by saying, overnight Israel bombed the Rafah crossing, but without telling you why. First of all, there's a war going on there. Neither side wants it to end, just so you know. Neither side wants it to end. And so the Hamas people, the terrorists there, they had, started a rocket attack the day before, and they killed 4 Israeli soldiers. And this was over the weekend, right? And so Israel, the next day, I think it was Sunday, that they killed 4 Israelis. And it turned out that the rockets were launched from the Rafah crossing, which is why Israel attacked the Rafah crossing last night. It's, tit for tat is what it is. And nobody, it's not the full invasion of Rafah, which if Netanyahu does, oh God, spare his soul. He's going to hell. You understand that, right? This is my deep belief that if Netanyahu does this full-on ground invasion where 1.4 million people are sheltering because they were told to go there, and he does it anyway, he's going to hell. That's just my humble opinion, even though Jews will tell you not all of us believe in hell. Okay, so he has to be born again and again and again and again and start as an insect or something and make his way back to... listen, I'm telling you right now, so the amount of anti-Semitism that's being ginned up in this country right now is just, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. So everything's out of context. Nobody is explaining anything about, what is going on over there. And what's going on over there is Hamas doesn't want this to end. And that's why they said, oh, no, we accepted Israel's ceasefire agreement. No, they didn't accept jack crap. I didn't find this out till late last night. What they did was they made a counter offer. And America and Israel said, that is not what we were talking about over here. That has nothing to do with the ceasefire deal that we were negotiating. This is a counteroffer, but I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go home, the Israelis. We'll go back to, we'll attend the negotiations based on your counteroffer in Egypt. That's what we'll do. But in the meantime, we have to get even with you for launching rocket attacks against us. It's so vile what's going on over there. But what the hell does this have to do with America? We're the honest brokers here. We're the ones that are at the table trying to say, don't go in there and do that. And you, stop lying about you accepted the ceasefire. You didn't accept the ceasefire. You made a counter. That's wrong what you did.
A all things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Now, here we are, not 75 years later, but just 7.5 months later. And people are already forgetting. They're already forgetting that Hamas unleashed this terror. It was Hamas that brutalized Israelis. It was Hamas who took and continues to hold hostages. I have not forgotten, nor have you, and we will not forget.
I don't know. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get any of this. I honestly do not. I think it has to do with social media and seeing, constant, photographs and constant, videos of death and dying and war. War is hell. It is hell. It is Israel and Gaza. The Likud party and the freaking terrorists known as Hamas, they're going at each other. And what does this have to do with electing Donald Trump, who's on trial in a criminal courtroom right now? I don't even understand how that is a thing. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And the amount of crap that's going on over there is going to be crap that's going on over here. If you don't listen, you want to hear it from somebody you like? You want to hear it from a celebrity? We can't watch the trial. We're not allowed to watch Donald Trump be tried. We're not allowed. It's the law, No cameras in the courtroom in the state of New York. So Stormy Daniels is being cross-examined right now, and I can't watch it. And it's driving me insane, okay? Insane, because all I'm seeing is like, excerpts, okay? And so they just asked her on cross-examination, okay? And, of course, the women have to cross-examine. The women have to do the direct examination of the women folk, and the women have to do the cross-examination of the women folk. I mean, it's so sick. The whole thing. It's just such a mess. But okay, so now you got this necklace girl who's, been sitting there for the whole trial, and every defense attorney that's been on any panel on any cable channel has told you that Susan Necklace, I think her name is the most awesome defense attorney, and she's the only one at the table that has experience as a defense attorney. The other guys, they have experience, but as prosecutors, they've never tried a case as a defense attorney, and she's the only one. So now she's cross-examining Stormy Daniels, and you know what she asked her? As if this has anything to do with anything. This case is about Donald Trump, what we found out yesterday, okay, and this morning from a witness, that Donald Trump is a watcher of every nickel, every dime, every single penny, every decimal point, every piece of accounting that has to do with his money. He oversaw. He was never, ever, ever, ever an absentee landlord in his business, ever. Okay. And then we find out that what happened there was, we knew that Michael Cohen had taken a home loan. Oh, my God, this is so sad. Taken a personal home loan after the Access Hollywood tape came out. And Stormy Daniels was apparently negotiating with the Inquirer, but the Inquirer actually got pissed off at Trump, too, and told Donald Trump, we're not a bank, you pay her, right? But apparently there was negotiations because there are text messages back and forth going 120, 125. And finally they said, well, Inquirer Pecker actually says to Trump, you pay her. I'm not a bank, okay? And so Michael Cohen was told to, arrange it, and he told Donald Trump, we're gonna have to, make a separate business for this. And Donald's like, why? I'll just pay her cash. Oh, no, you're not paying her cash. That's not going to happen. We have to do this, we have to form a shell company. We have to hide the payments. We have to, do this on the QT, on the down low. Whatever. And apparently Donald Trump paid this money out of his personal funds and had the temerity, the nads, to actually deduct the legal expenses as a business expense. And the controller that testified yesterday is like, and made notes on the documents. And the notes say that they have to plus up Michael Cohen's supposed legal fees, which really were payments to Stormy Daniels to keep her quiet, right? Hush money payments. And he wanted it doubled because he was going to have to pay taxes on this money. Because he was going to be, he had to declare the payments. And in New York, it's like a 50% tax thing. And so they plussed up by 50% the amount of 130. And then Donald Trump added a bonus. He was so thrilled with Michael Cohen's plan, which right there, he's guilty, okay? The idea here is to connect Donald Trump to this illegality, to this, fraud, to this wrongdoing, to this, in commission of a misdemeanor. He's actually trying to hide a felony, right? And so that makes the fraud in the business the felony, and that's what happened. And so you have notes there. It's the notes from the controller that says, we have to plus him up. So he has a math problem. He has an actual. Well, let's see if I have a report that has those documents in there. I don't know which one it is. Yeah, 12. It's 12. Hang on. Watch.
They're really incredible documents that Mr. McConney testified about. So the first document, I would even say that they're close to being smoking guns. That's significant. The first document is Alan Weisselberg, the CFO at the time, in his own handwriting, contemporaneously recording the internal payments. So remember that the entire...
I'm going to pause it. You could hear what he has to say, but you see the number there, and it says grossed up to and add bonus. You see that here? Grossed up to and add bonus. Total $420,000 right there on the screen, right there. Smoking gun, baby. Smoking gun. Okay? And then over here, plus $50,000 paid to Red Finch for tech services. No, it was paid to Michael Cohen. This is fraud. It's on the ledger. And it was testified to by the controller. Okay? That's why they say it's a documents case.
Argument by the prosecutor is that this was a cover-up. They recorded it publicly and in their business records as legal fees, but this is the handwritten notes that shows it's nothing about legal fees. In fact, the handwritten notes say this is to gross him up. You do not gross up legal fees. Oh. The exact amount is the $130,000 times 2 to cover for taxes, plus $50,000 for online polling company. And it's not that Alan Weisselberg wrote this on a scratch piece of paper. The paper that this is all on is a bank record of Michael Cohen's from the Essential Consultants care of Michael Cohen on October 27th. It shows the wire transfer to who?
Oh, my God.
Stormy Daniels' lawyer. So he's actually doing the handwritten notes on the hush money payment.
Actual hush money payment.
Yeah, so it's just extraordinary. And then the second document is McConney's handwritten notes as the controller of the company, and his handwritten notes say as well that this is a gross up of for 2 times the amount for taxes.
Oh my God.
You don't do that for legal fees. And he also says that the money will come from monthly payments from DJT. And then the other witness we hear from today is asked the question, who had the signing authority for this DJT account in 2016 and 17?
Answer?
And her answer is only Mr. Trump.
Bye-bye, dickhead. See you in Attica. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, really. But today, actually, they had to bring Stormy Daniels, and they almost got a mistrial out of that. Do you know why? They said she went too far in her description of the act. She went too far. This was not what they agreed upon. And the defense for Donald Trump moved for a mistrial. Judge Mershon said, well, a lot of the things that were said really didn't need to be said, but no, we're not going to have a mistrial. But you understand that kind of testimony, if it was agreed that it would stay out, that it came in, that is appealable now. It is, like Harvey.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, so this happened. Robert De Niro sat down for an interview with Stephanie Ruhle. Robert De Niro, okay? Now, Robert De Niro is a political person lately, okay? I don't think he ever was before Donald Trump, but he has been since. And it's because I think he's terrified. I think, this is a person who has played every despicable character you could think of. This is a person who understands the workings, the deep mindset of people that are hurtful to other people. I mean, he's Max Cady, for God's sake. You understand that? And think he thinks that Donald Trump is one of those sociopaths that he only had come across in scripts. And now he's like, listen, I see everything that, is despicable and nothing redeeming in this man. I don't even think I could play him because there's no redeeming quality to him. Even Max Cady was Max Cady. Remember, he was a rapist murderer that was out to get his lawyer and his lawyer's family because he felt his lawyer didn't represent him zealously, right? And that's the story of Cape Fear. But okay, so here he is saying, the never again story that we keep on saying we need to remember and tell every year so that we never forget to remember is happening.
We always hear about people from Eastern Europe, the Jews from other parts of Eastern Europe, from Western Europe, coming over. Look what happened in France with the Nazis and so on. And they come over, and you hear these, and when I was a kid, they'd say, "You don't really appreciate this country. You don't really appreciate what we know from experience." Imagine what those people went through. I'm just starting to see it. As a kid, I said, Hitler, it's a nightmare that never would happen. But now I see that it's possible. But those people, and sometimes I run into some people who are close to my age who are from Eastern European countries or even Nazi Germany, and you understand it.
Did you ever care this much about politics?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm sort of not indifferent, but it's not my. But I'm so angry about what's going on. Yeah. I don't see how it can be avoided.
Do you think Joe Biden's the right guy?
We don't have a choice. And I think he is the right guy. He's a good guy. He's trying to do the right thing. We don't have a choice. And I say that in a very positive, good way.
Then what would be your message to President Biden?
Keep up the fight. Keep at him. Go at him hard. And every chance you get, go at him. Go at him. Because people, they take notice of that stuff. And he's not afraid. He's doing what he should do. He knows that. That's the only way. I use it figuratively when I say punch him in the face. Go at him. A bully, you punch in the face. The trouble with Trump is he's not just a bully. He's a stupid bully.
He's a lying bully. I don't know how stupid he is, but he's a lying bully. He's a person who, once you get sucked into his orbit, you become a lying liar, and you become part of the liars that tell lies. This was amazing because yesterday, Kristi Noem was confronted about meeting Kim Jong-un, a story she tells in her book, okay? And I did not know that apparently she had read her audiobook because I know her book's not out, but she'd already done the audio version of her book, which, you always read your own version of your book if you're alive, right? If you're, Hemingway, you're going to find, an actor or an actress or somebody with a great voice to read your story. But okay, so Kristi Noem is not Hemingway. She's Kristi Noem. So she read her own book, and apparently that thing about Kim Jong-un was in her damn book. And she read her own manuscript and put it on tape. And it included a fake story, a lie, about her meeting Kim Jong-un. And now she's doing this big book tour. And she had to tell Stuart Varney, this was hysterical, but she was on Fox News, and Stuart Varney was like, so did you really kill your dog? And did you really meet Kim Jong-un? And she's like, Stuart, what you're doing is ridiculous. You have to stop. Just stop right now. Stop it. And she actually started to, demean him for asking her the same questions that everybody is asking her, like, when did you become a lying liar who tells lies? Was it when you got sucked into Trump world? Like, what is going on? And why does everybody come away from that man just lying their faces off about things that are easily disproved? Why?
Clearly, if you're taking it out of the book, it's because it's untrue.
I've given you my answer, no, and that's not the answer. I would say that, this is something that I asked to have adjusted and have the content and that name removed, and that is truly what the action has been.
You said when you learned of it, you immediately took action. Mm-hmm. You recorded the whole book as the audiobook. You read this whole passage out loud. Why didn't you take it out then when you read the audiobook?
I've traveled for years. I've been involved in policy for almost 30 years. And so I've gone all across the world. I've met with world leaders.
So you didn't realize when you recorded the audiobook?
When it was brought to my attention, and I asked the publisher if they would remove the name, and they did.
Okay, but you didn't answer my question. when you posted pictures and video of yourself recording the audiobook. When you recorded your own audiobook, you didn't notice
I'm
this
not going to
passage?
discuss about my meetings with world leaders.
I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you about recording the audio.
Did you want to talk about something else today?
No, I just wanted to know. I mean, we're just trying to get a straight answer from it. This has been...
Oh, you did. I mean, and I took responsibility for it.
Oh my God. It's just like you cannot, something happens when you get inside this man's orbit, you know, something happens to you that you're unable to tell the truth about anything anymore. And you tell the most horrible portions of your life out loud. Like you killed your dog and you hated that dog. And then you double down on the killing and you say, and I killed a goat because that goat was smelly. Do you live on a farm? What do you mean you were surprised the goat smelled? Farm animals smell, okay? They have a specific farm animal smell to the farm animals. I mean, I don't understand. And then she said, oh, I killed 2 horses and blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, Tim Scott, he was asked very simple, will you accept the results of the election? They're both auditioning for vice president. And apparently that means you can never tell the truth about anything ever. You have to be in Trump's orbit and be a lying liar who tells lies.
At the end of the day, the 47th president of the United States will be President Donald Trump, and I'm excited to get back to low inflation, low unemployment.
Wait, Senator, yes or no? Yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter who wins?
That is my statement.
What? But is it just yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024?
I look forward to President Trump being the 47th president. Kristen, you could ask him multiple times.
Senator, just a yes or no answer.
So the American people will make the decision.
But I don't hear you committing
for President Trump. That's clear.
I don't hear you committing to the election results.
Here's the challenge.
Will you commit to accepting the election results?
This is why so many Americans believe that NBC is an extension of the Democrat Party.
What?
At the end of the day,
because you can't tell.
I said what I said, and I know that the American people, their voices will be heard, and I believe that President Trump will be our next president. It's that simple.
Yes or no? If you lose, will you accept the result? Or is it only if you win? That's my statement. What? I mean, I don't know what. And why is this close? You have a person who is the president of the United States. The list of accomplishments is long. Everything from, you do $30 $25 insulin from $1,000 a month, right? All the way to chips factories, and science being invested in the Rust Belt. Now is the battery belt. All kinds of progress. And this is the caliber that we're dealing with.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
You warned America about who Donald Trump was in 2016. You're a lifetime New Yorker, so is he, and you said the country does not realize who this fraudster is, and not enough people listened. Do you think they'll listen now?
I hope to God they do, because they don't. If it goes the other way, I keep saying this, you will see things that, like you'll see, it's like invasion of the body snatchers. You'll see people you knew or you thought you knew all of a sudden changing, all of a sudden going with that side, either for self-preservation, because they actually believe it, or they're deluding themselves, or whatever. But then when that happens, and you walk into a restaurant, you see people you used to know, and all of a sudden they're just not opposing it. They're going with the flow, and that's even more scary, insidious, I guess, if you say it like that, and ultimately just depressingly disappointing. There has to be a time when you have to say, okay, that's it. No, we're not doing that. We're not allowing that to happen. And this is the time in this country for that to happen.
He's right. I mean, because you can already see it. This is why you see all this mental gymnastics being, taken up by MAGA, right? When MAGA is asked, what's most important to you? And they go, law and order. Okay, law and order. So your guy is sitting in a criminal court. And prior to being in this criminal court, he was found to have defamed people to the point where and to defraud people to the point where he owes almost $500 million. What do you think about that? Well, sir, that's not going to make me change my vote for him. You see what I mean? It's like, like people just become complicit in this crazy world. They just say things that were important to them, like law and order, because without it you just have chaos, right? That's what the guy said, right? And then you just take every deeply held belief, every moral conviction you ever had, and you throw it away in service to this guy. That's what happens. And it will be like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, God help us, where people will just, start to say, oh, I don't pay attention to it. Or just like these two, I told you, Noam, we showed you Noam and Tim Scott. And there's a whole bunch of others. Look at Ted Cruz. I mean, Donald Trump literally accused Ted Cruz of having an ugly wife and said that his dad killed JFK and had it put on the cover of the Inquirer. Now we know that him and Pecker were putting crazy fake stuff on the cover of the Inquirer against every single one of Donald Trump's challengers, right? So that they couldn't compete. Free media and never declaring an in-kind contribution. This is all to influence the results of an election. And it worked for him. It worked for him because it was cheating. It was cheating. In-kind contributions have to be declared, okay? We have like 2 campaign finance laws left. 2. One is like you can't take foreign money. 30 million went to the NRA from Russia. When did that become okay? See, and that's what I'm saying. Like everybody was like, who cares? And that's how it falls apart. So if you can see that everyone in this man's orbit becomes a lying liar. Yes, Al Franken wrote a book about it years ago, and he was so right. It was called Lying Liars and the Liars Who Tell Them. It was like it was a thing that was starting to happen in the Republican Party where they couldn't win anymore. So they just lied about what they were able to accomplish, or they just started rigging elections with voter suppression. Now it's full-on voter subversion right in front of your face, including up to and including violence. And, I tell you, these trials are not going to happen if Donald Trump becomes the president, because he'll tell his Justice Department to, stop prosecuting them. That's it. And they just all go away because he's the president. But right now, you have, what's-her-face down here in Florida, Eileen Cannon. Thursday was some sort of a deadline in the documents case. I know there's so many, but the documents case had a deadline for this Thursday. And what it needed to have happen, according to Eileen Cannon's own ruling, was everybody had to submit the documents, the ones that they wanted to introduce into evidence on Thursday. Well, the defense went to her, Donald Trump's defense went to her and said, Thursday, I don't know. Could you move it? She said, sure. And put out a delay, but didn't give any legal reason. It was what they call, it's a bare bones declaration that the trial, that the evidence hearing isn't going to happen on Thursday. She didn't say when it's going to happen. She hasn't given a trial date, even though the last time they were in court was because she said she wanted to delay the trial, but never gave a new trial date. So we don't have a trial date, which means she's playing his game. She's been sucked into his world because she was appointed by him, and apparently she's not even qualified to be a traffic court judge. So she never makes a decision, and she just keeps kicking the can down the road because delay is his favorite tactic. The best shot he has is that he wins the election. That's the best shot he has. So he is asking people to play his game and delay until after the election when if he wins, will make it go away. If he loses, we get to actually see him held accountable. Now that's what they just cross-examined Stormy Daniels, and all I could see on the Google Doc that they're running on the left side of the screen is that the defense lawyer asked Stormy Daniels, "Do you hate Donald Trump?" She said yes. That means the documents aren't real. What? I swear to God. Do you hate Donald Trump? She said, yes, I hate Donald Trump. Do you want to see him go to jail? She said, if he's found guilty, yeah. It's a perfect answer. That is the perfect answer. If he's found guilty, yes. I would like to see him be held accountable if he's found guilty. Yes. all of a sudden, the documentation of the hush money payments that were deducted as legal expenses, but the controller and everybody else that saw Weisselberg. You know, Weisselberg is sitting on Rikers Island. The CFO of the Trump organization is sitting in jail on Rikers Island. Oh, my God. And Biden is standing up and giving amazing speeches about don't forget, never forget how quickly things unravel. Don't forget how these things happen and how they creep up on you, how they start with boycotts or how they start with words or how they start with breaking windows or how they start with, old tropes about this old hatred. Don't forget. And it creeps up and it creeps up and it creeps up. And the next thing you know, you're taking your grandkids to Dachau. Seriously. Everybody is trying to warn every voter in this country about what's going on, okay? Except some people on the left have gone so far over the hump that they're now on the right. And they're blaming Biden for the right-wing Likud party and a right-wing terrorist organization. What? And with no context, they're saying, oh, they bombed the clothes, they bombed the crossing. Oh, my God. I'm so sickened by the media today. I'm like retching from it, okay? Because all across the freaking cable channels, which is where people have to go to get news in this here country, all it is wall-to-wall Donald Trump, wall-to-wall Trump. And you can't even see the trial. You can't even see it. So it's a bunch of legal eagles sitting there, repeating their analysis over and over again of the little snippets that are coming out over and over. Meanwhile, you have the President of the United States give a Holocaust Remembrance Day speech that was one for the annals of the books of history. It was that good. It really, truly was. It was an amazing speech. It was statesmanlike. It was historically correct. It was deeply felt. It was truthful. And it's in the middle of a heinous situation in the Middle East where all last night the White House was scrambling back and forth, shuttle diplomacy. You got Director Burns, the CIA director, over there, and they're shuttling back and forth. You got Blinken shuttling back and forth from freaking Egypt to Qatar, and from Qatar to Jerusalem, and from Jerusalem back to Egypt. I mean, just doing everything and anything they can to try and get these two sides to admit that neither one of you wants to stop this crap. We're hip to this. It's got to stop. To the point where Biden did not send I was almost cursed, but he did not send a shipload of bombs to Israel. He did not. They were supposed to go last week, and he didn't send them. Didn't send them because he doesn't trust the Likud party. He doesn't trust the extremists in Israel to do the right thing. And he certainly doesn't trust Hamas. And this is who he has to deal with and broker some sort of a ceasefire with. And people just don't care. They don't care.
Mary had a little lamb.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
And as Jews around the world still cope with the atrocities and trauma of that day and its aftermath, we've seen a ferocious surge of anti-Semitism in America and around the world. Vicious propaganda on social media. Jews forced to keep their hide, their keepers on their baseball hats, tuck their Jewish stars into their shirts. On college campuses, Jewish students blocked, harassed, attacked while walking to class. Anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic posters, slogans, calling for the annihilation of Israel, the world's only Jewish state. Too many people denying, downplaying, rationalizing, ignoring the horrors of the Holocaust. And October 7th, including Hamas's appalling use of sexual violence to torture and terrorize Jews. It's absolutely despicable, and it must stop. Silence. Silence and denial can hide much, but it can erase nothing. Some injustices are so heinous, so horrific, so grievous, they cannot be buried, no matter how hard people try. In my view, a major lesson of the Holocaust is, as mentioned earlier, was not inevitable. We know hate never goes away, it only hides. And given a little oxygen, it comes out from under the rocks. But we also know what stops hate. One thing, all of us.
Huh. So it's true. Hatred never goes away; it just hides. And this is the exact analogy that I've always said to you. It's like when bad leaders get hold of enormous amounts of power, what happens? They turn the lights off, and the bugs are able to scamper about. They're able to infest the nice place that you have and turn it into some horror movie, some horror show. And it takes a guy to come in and turn the freaking lights on and at least make them go back into the walls where they belong, instead of in the center of attention all the time because the lights are off. And you could feel them crawling on you. Seriously, dude, I'm telling you right now, this is like, I listened to his speech today and I was like, why is this even close? Why is this even a choice? Why is this something that people in so-called red states are making in favor of a guy who has been found to owe $500 million in damages to people he's defrauded, defamed, etc., and now he's on trial to lose his liberty in a criminal court for doing the same thing, for defrauding and defaming. But this time in service of his own election, which thank God we have, like I said, we got like two campaign finance laws left. Two. And we break them all. We just do. Except his people are so dumb that they write it down on the literal piece of paper that accounts for the transfer of the money from Michael Cohen to Stormy Daniels' lawyer. Oh, my God. And it's not the transfer that's illegal. No. That it wasn't claimed as a in-kind campaign donation, that's a misdemeanor. But then to take it as a tax deduction from the company when you paid it out of your revocable trust, your personal funds, that is fraud. Tax fraud. And it was in commission of another crime, even though the other crime was a misdemeanor. Now you're looking at a felony. Now you're looking at hard time. So I just don't understand why this is a question in people's minds. I really do want to kind of understand. I really do. I mean, why do people remember, us being in lockdown and 1 million people dying, and especially in New York, I mean, Potter's Field, everybody got very familiar with it and learned where it was and who gets buried there. And it's the poorest of the poor, people with no relations, people with nobody to bury them, people, who come out of prison, they bury them in this field in unmarked graves for the most part. And all of a sudden we see people digging these massive freaking mass graves. Mass graves. We see nurses, doctors trying to go to work in garbage bags. In garbage bags. And you hear the snot-nosed little offspring that married into the family, also from a criminal family. His dad was in jail. Jared say, oh, well, the national surplus stockpile, that doesn't belong to New York. That doesn't belong to any state. That's ours. We're the feds. We get that. In the middle of an emergency, in the middle of a pandemic. Oh my God, and that's not I mean, if that was everything, the man threw paper towels at people who live on an island that was slammed into by a Category 5 hurricane called Maria and said, well, the place was decrepit to begin with. I'm not fixing it. I'm not fixing it up. He literally held and extorted the leader of Ukraine and held up basic defense items unless and until he got him dirt on Joe Biden. There's a long list of crime, a long list of really disgusting, unbelievable behavior that a person who had something to offer, a real plan, a real policy, a real way forward, a real, pandemic, a solution, a real, vaccine program or whatever, would not have to invent this kind of, a sickness, wouldn't have to inject this into our society, wouldn't have to make one person hate the other person in order for him to win. It's just that he has nothing. He has nothing to offer. Nothing. No policy, no plan, no nothing. Everything with him is a slogan. Everything with him is a bumper sticker. Make America great again. Make America infrastructure week. Oh, it's the easiest thing to do. I should have done it in the first term, but I'll do it in the second term. What? Repeal and replace Obamacare. With what? I don't know. It's a disaster. It's a disgrace. Everything's a disgrace. Like you never saw before, it's a disgrace. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Good Lord, man, he has nothing. Zero, zip, goose eggs, nothing. Except the idea that he could be a king, the idea that he could expand the executive branch of the government so big, make it so huge, that it literally swallows up every other branch, including the judiciary, including the legislative, right? That whatever he does, that it has to be the law, because we're not going to make law in a legislative branch anymore. He's going to decree. He's going to say, he's going to decide, he's going to point. How is that something people want? I understand people are disappointed in democracy. It's messy. It didn't serve you under Republican president after Republican president after Republican president. It didn't. And every time we got a Democratic president that would try and fix what the Republican presidents broke, they would start campaigning against the person who fixed it and say he's doing it too slow, or he's doing it too fast, or he's too this, he's too black, he's too old, he's too this, he's too that, he's too liberal, he's too progressive, he's too conservative, he's too this. In favor of an autocrat, a guy who tells you I alone can fix it. And there are people in this country that are so disappointed with the way their lives turned out that they think if they gave up their liberty, if they gave up their freedom and did it, and they had this man take it from them, somehow things would be better for them. How do you get there in your head? You're going to have to explain it to me. You're going to have to tell me, because I can't figure you out. All I know is anybody that gets anywhere near his gravitational pull ends up telling the most easily disproved lies. Hydroxychloroquine. Take it.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Sometimes the best way to learn your lesson is to get beat, and Donald Trump needs to get beat. We need to move on as a party. We need to move on as a country. And certainly I've got concerns with some of the policies that President Biden follows, and I hope to be able to, like many other Republicans, be able to sway their influence on immigration and other issues that we disagree with wholeheartedly. But look, to think Donald Trump's wholeheartedly a conservative is just fake news at its finest. Donald Trump's not a conservative. He rationed $8 trillion worth of debt during his presidency. He told us he was going to build a wall. He built a photo station down at the border. This guy's a fake Republican. We have to move on as Republicans. We have to. And this is our first step to do it.
So that's the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan, who, is trying to talk some sense into Republicans who really do want to see something happen on the issues they care the most about, whether it's the debt, whether it's the border. Now, remember, there is a bipartisan border package that would go a very, very long way to solving a whole bunch of crud that happens down at the border. It includes more, like 50,000 new beds. It includes a different definition of what is an eligible asylum claim. Because, you know, in this country, you can come here legally if you're claiming asylum. And you get to stay here legally while you're awaiting an asylum hearing and adjudication on your claim of asylum. But, you know, if we changed what qualifies for asylum, which was in this bipartisan package, you would see fewer and fewer people coming here trying to claim asylum simply because they were poor or simply because, they decided they wanted to try to live here because the opportunities here are greater than the opportunities in their home country. That wouldn't qualify them for asylum any longer, right? I mean, if you could go anywhere in your home country and be safe, then you wouldn't be able to claim asylum in the United States. It would have to be only a life and death situation where no matter where you went to live in Colombia, let's say, or no matter where you went to live in Nicaragua, no matter what town you decided to move to in Guatemala, you still would not be safe. You would be targeted. Your family would be targeted for murder, for death, for whatever. That's a legitimate asylum claim. That's why we have asylum claims. That's the kind of person that we care to take in, that we say, you're safe here. Come here. Be with us. We got you. We got you back. They didn't want to pass that in the House of Representatives. In fact, they didn't even want to introduce it in the House of Representatives. And I've told you a million times that if they did, if they put that on the floor, if Mike Johnson would get out of his own damn way, if he would stop being so afraid of, Large Marge, right? And he put that bill on the floor, there'd be 300 votes to pass it. Oh, yeah. And that's the dirty little secret of immigration. So all the haters out there, what? They're hoping Donald Trump, who needs any stinking law? We don't need no stinking law. We're just going to have a mass deportation. Really? And who gets to choose and pick who gets on the bus? Papers, please. Papers, please. You know, it's just, sorry, it's just too close. It's too close to what we're supposed to learn about that is supposed to be in the rearview mirror. It's too close. Clay in Mississippi.
Hello, Randy.
Hi.
So I think you covered at the end of the last segment kind of what I wanted to mention, and that is that in my experience with all the right-wingers that I live around here, the only things I've ever seen them talk about or heard them talk about is there are three things, and that is they think if Donald Trump is elected, their taxes will go down, their gas prices will go down, and all the the brown people will be taken out of the country. That's what they think.
Do you have a state?
And that's all they care about.
Do you have a state tax?
Yeah, we have a state tax here.
You do?
Yes.
Well, you got a Republican.
Our governor wants to do away with it.
Yeah,
but,
you got a Republican governor. You got Tater over there. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. He wants to do away with the sales tax, not the state tax.
Okay, so their tax problem is a Republican problem. You've been in.
Oh, I know.
So you got to tell your people down there. You've been in.
You can't tell them.
You got to tell them. You got to.
They won't listen.
Clay,
They just start yelling at you. That's what they do. They start yelling and talking over you, and they won't listen.
Well, the good news is that Mississippi has absolutely no chance in choosing the president. Really,
right?
Right. The bad news is it's still Mississippi, and it's still going to look like that, and it's still going to sound like that, and it's still going to feel like that. I watched those kids the other day. It's so sad to how it passes from generation to generation, this hatred. I just watched a whole bunch. I played it for you yesterday. There were like 100 people dressed up in red, white, and blue, freaking overalls.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, screaming and yelling and making monkey sounds at a woman, at a girl who was, a student at Ole Miss, just finishing up her degree in journalism, and they were making like monkey sounds at her because she was a black girl. I mean, doesn't anybody down there want to get into the 21st century? Don't they?
I haven't seen many.
Well, that's a crying shame. That's really a crying shame. Yeah, because they can continue to die of preventable diseases or not.
It's definitely a red place. definitely.
It's also a place that needs a lot of medical care. Okay, there's no. I mean, I saw what goes on down there, and I was just shocked and stunned by it. But the idea that insulin. This should be a big issue for Mississippians. Insulin has gone from $1,000 a month to $35, and if you're on Medicare, it's all your medicine is capped at $2,000. There's no.
Well, a lot of these. There are a lot of great things that have been going on, but most of them, these people, they're not affected by them, so that's why they don't care. They don't care about the price of insulin. They don't care about anything that doesn't directly affect them.
Wait, you're telling me that big fat Mississippians don't care
No.
about the price
I'm
of
talking
insulin?
about these people that the rabid MAGA people.
Well, the MAGA people are older Americans. They're older white guys for the most part. They do care about the price of insulin.
Middle-aged, older, middle-aged, a lot of them.
They do care about the price of insulin. Yes, they do.
Not any that I know, but I put it that way. But yeah, I mean, sure, there are a lot of MAGA people.
And they just keep passing it on from generation to generation. I mean, I remember when I got run out of there. I remember when the KKK came to my house.
Yeah.
Really, it's a true story.
I know, I've heard you.
But it's an old story. It's a really old story. It's older than the crack in Grandma's ace. But it still happens because they pass it down from generation to generation. I can't believe that, in this day and age, what happened in the late 70s still happens in that place. People who should know better by now, that nothing good ever came of it, that their hatred was such a waste of energy. It was such a waste of a vote. It was such a waste of their future. It didn't bring anything good to them. It didn't bring anything, fun or good or happy or help them, help their and now you're going to have women dying because the one little place you had in Jackson is now closed down. And not only will they die because of preventable miscarriages, but they.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Oh, God, that Orange Menace is, still speaking in the courthouse now. Okay, just came out of the courtroom and said, it's a disaster. The whole thing is a disaster. It's like there's no case. Ask any legal expert. There's no case here. It's just falling apart. It's a disaster. That's it. That's all he said. Emily in Oregon.
Hi, Randi. I'm a big fan, longtime fan.
Thanks.
I just wanted to tell you, I got into a big protracted argument on Facebook with some Republican guy from Iowa. And, he says, I said, well, how can you support this man? He's an authoritarian, blah, blah. He says, well, the economy and the border, those two things. And I said, well, you're willing to put up with everything else for those two things. And then he says, well, all politicians are corrupt. Biden's corrupt too. And I said, that's a poor argument. You just, this is like 1930s Berlin. I said, you're willing to justify all his awful behavior for the economy and the border, which of course is garbage anyway. But they're willing to do it.
But there is a border bill, and it's their party that's blocking the progress on the border. So that just blows my mind that they would even bring up the border, knowing
they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that.
But it's just like this thing that's going on in the Middle East, okay? What really is happening there is neither side wants it to end for their own, their own putrid reasons. But that's what goes on, when people are at war. And so now you have a border bill that would go a really long way to solving a lot of the mess, a lot of the chaos at the border. But the Republicans won't introduce it because they want this guy in Iowa to have something to bitch to you about.
Right. They're willing to support a strong man, no matter how evil he is, because he is their idea of a strong man. And it's appalling. And I mean, I said, you have no integrity. If you support a guy like this, you've got no morals, no integrity. End of story. That's it.
There's more to it than that. And think about this. Remember during COVID, you know, we had the farmers were in real bad shape. And the farmers had made markets for their soybeans and their pork in Iowa, especially, right? Over in China, they had made all these markets years ago that, you know, were buying their products.
Yeah.
Well, Donald Trump screwed it up so bad with the COVID epidemic that he literally paid the farmers a stipend and blew up their markets that they had spent years making for themselves.
Yeah.
It's like their distribution.
Yeah, he's good at tearing things apart.
Right.
He's really good at that.
And not solving anything.
This guy's a builder in Iowa, so you see where he's coming from.
No.
He's worried about, he doesn't want regulation, this, that, and the other. You know, I mean, it's a textbook. It's textbook, but you cannot argue with these people. You cannot give them fact or logic. They're way beyond that. And I said, I have no respect for you because you're not seeing the big picture. And they think, you know, when you say 1930s Germany, they just laugh. And I'm like,
they laugh.
Yeah, that's what they said. That's what they said then too, right?
Well, we spent $8 trillion on war that we didn't need to fight. So people want to complain about where does the money go? Where does the money go? I mean, you have corrupt leaders, and 99% of the time they're Republicans who tell you things that aren't true, make you spend all your money on this thing, on this terrible thing, and then turn around and tell you that it's Joe Biden's fault. What?
Yeah, and I said Trump doesn't care about Americans either. I mean, he doesn't. He says, "Oh, he cares about me." People. I said, "Yeah, he cares about you because if you worship him, he cares about you. If you vote for him, he cares about you. So that until you vote for him, and then after that, he doesn't give a damn. I mean, it's just." I said, and he certainly doesn't care about me.
Yeah.
So that idea that he cares about all Americans I mean, Biden does care. I don't know how he can sometimes, but he does. Because he's a better person than I am. That's
he's a
all I
way
can say.
better person than you are. He's a way better person than I am. He's a way better person than the people that vote for Donald Trump. But he is their president, and he accepts that. And he does for them. He does for them as much as he does for us, because he understands a rising tide lifts all boats.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Yep. Well, we all need to get off our butts and vote.
I'm telling you. The only thing that I can keep my fingers crossed and hope that they're getting right is that these are low propensity voters, the people who are the loudest and the proudest about being in the liar's gravitational pull.
Right.
Don't show up to vote.
Well, Iowa, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference in Iowa.
Right.
I know. Sad but true.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Well, thanks, Randy. You're the best.
Stay off Facebook, my friend. Stay off the Facebook.
I can't help it.
I know. Howard,
I can't.
If it's any consolation, Howard does it too. He's constant. You know what he does? He's actually on Truth Social, and I look at him and go, "What?"
Oh no, that I won't do.
See,
but this is Aaron Rupart's Facebook page, which is totally open.
Yeah.
And it's very, pretty much,
I love
democratic.
Aaron.
But
I love.
Yeah,
Aaron.
he's great.
Yeah.
And but there are a few trolls that come on, and they're just such idiots.
I'm telling
you.
I get it.
Anyway, it's my humor for the day.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks,
all right.
Emily.
Take it easy, Randy.
You
Yeah.
too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. Oh, I mean, it's just like it's so hard. I've done it too. And, you send them links to articles or to the Bureau of Labor Statistics because, whatever you send them, if you send them, God help you. If you send the New York Times, I like sending the Wall Street Journal because that stumps them, sort of stumps them. But they will tell you it's fake news. Whatever it is, it's fake. It's all fake. And only what he says, which is fake, is real, right? Everything is like it's through the looking glass crap. So now I get real granular and I send them, from the Bureau of Labor Statistics or from the OMB, where they score pieces of legislation. And they say, will it save us money or will it cost us money to do this, right? They don't want, they won't read it. You know what I'm saying? They just, it's like knocking your head against the wall. It really is. And it gets painful. So I just gave it up. You see, I'm not on social media anymore. I mean, very rarely do I post anything.
I don't do it with the Facebook arguments about Trump. I did it once, a girl that I went to high school with, and I had nothing but fond memories of this girl. She was charming, a lovely girl, had fond memories. Then we had this interaction. I lost my cool, called her a cult member, and now we'll never speak again. When prior, it was a nice memory, a nice person, and now we're not going to speak. And I'm calling her names, and I'm just not doing it anymore.
Well, I mean, I had to do a lot of social media because it was contractually mandated, number one. And then when I, went out on my own, I did what I wanted to do with it or without it, right? And I thought for a while, I'll spend money on Facebook. I'll spend, at the beginning, we had a Kickstarter, right? And so we had some money. And I said, well, I'll put like $1,000 on Facebook to promote us, right? And then all of a sudden, Facebook said, we don't even want your money. I swear to God, we don't want your stinking money. You can, and they made you jump through hoops and send in affidavits and ID and passports and driver. It was insane. But the second you said that you dealt in government or current affairs or politics, nope, can't have. But the Russians were all, and so I gave up. I just gave up.
Fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Late last week, U.S., Egyptian, and Qatari mediators offered Hamas what the U.S. called a, quote, extraordinarily generous proposal approved by Israel. That would be a period of calm for 40 days. Hamas would release 33 hostages, the female, the elderly, and the infirm. Israel would release some 700 Palestinian detainees. And after those releases, Gazans would have freedom of movement within Gaza, and the two sides would discuss a permanent ceasefire and withdrawal of troops from Gaza. Now, early today, Hamas released a statement of its, quote, approval of an Egyptian and Qatari proposal regarding the ceasefire agreement. Israeli officials quickly told me that Hamas had not approved anything, or what it had approved was not the deal on the table. The reality is somewhere in the middle, William. U.S. officials confirmed that Hamas responded to the proposal, didn't accept anything. At the same time, their response is being called positive by regional officials that I speak to. We do not have the exact details of how Hamas is asking for the proposal to be changed. What we do know is that the Israeli War Cabinet has released a statement about what Hamas said today, and that statement is, quote, although the Hamas proposal is far from Israel's position, Israel will send a delegation of working-level mediators to exhaust the possibility of reaching an agreement under conditions acceptable to Israel. So Israel has neither accepted nor denied Hamas's proposal today, and so the negotiations continue.
So meanwhile, Israel has always been talking about going into Rafah. What is the latest on that?
The War Cabinet in that statement also said that it would continue military operations in Rafah to, quote, exert military pressure on Hamas. And there are early reports right now that, in fact, Israeli ground troops, including tanks, have crossed from Israel toward Rafah. Israeli officials tell me this is a, quote, targeted operation designed to keep the negotiations pressure on Hamas. This is not the Rafah operation that you and I and U.S. officials and Israeli officials have been talking about, that Israel says is required to kill the last 4 battalions of Hamas, and it's about a few thousand fighters that are part of that.
See, that's what we told you yesterday. We knew what they wanted. They want those 4 battalions in Rafah, and the United States has told Netanyahu and his freaking right-wing war cabinet, don't do it. Don't go in there. You got 1.4 million people sheltering there because you told them to go there, and this would be, like a massacre. A massacre. And then, well, we want the job done. We want to finish it. Why don't you make peace? Why don't you do that? Why don't you just actually start sparing people's lives and negotiate your way into getting rid of Hamas? Why don't you negotiate your way into some sort of a calm? Okay, this is what they're calling it, not even a ceasefire, but some sort of a sustained calmness, okay? And then they are proposing, and by them I mean our government, the Egyptians, the Qataris, the Saudis, believe it or not, are proposing that all these governments that I just mentioned have some sort of a joint caretaking ability in Gaza. Because no one knows. Listen, the thing with Israel has not ever said what they want to have happen when they're done. What do they want to have happen? Like, what should be left there when they're done? All they'll say is no Hamas. Okay, well, what is left there? There's nothing really. I mean, there's housing is gone, hospitals are gone, schools are gone. You know, what is left? I don't know. Let them rebuild. I mean, and so that's why they're talking about like a joint operation with Arab countries, and you know, probably we could rope in the UK, you know, and stuff like this. But I mean, honestly, it's so bizarre because neither side wants this to end. Neither side. Why don't the Israelis want it to end? Because again, Netanyahu will be removed. He will have a new election after this is all over, and he will lose. The right-wing Likud party will lose. He will also have to have face a board of inquiry that is going to ask what the hell took 12 hours to get the IDF to help these people in the kibbutzim when the terrorist attack was going on 12 hours. We thought it was pretty grotesque that airplanes were able to make U-turns in some of the most secure airspace over the United States, known as Washington, D.C., New York City. 4 hours, planes were just making U-turns, looking like they were going, cross country. But then, I don't know. No, we're turning around and we're going to crash into over here. We're crashing into this bill. And then, looks like we're going to the West Coast because we got a full tank of gas to go, right? No, we're making a U-turn. We're going to that building. And we thought 4 hours was a really long time. Can you imagine 12 hours in a tiny little place like Israel? Tiny, teeny, tiny little place to get any help to these people? That this attack went on for 12 freaking hours. See, that's the thing. Nobody wants to talk about the attack because it takes the purity of the protest away. You know, they like to put blood on their hands. Well, your hands aren't clean under that, fake blood either. There's plenty of blood to go around. But neither side wants this to end. Neither side. Everybody's playing for leverage here. Everybody. It's crazy. It's crazy. But the United States is doing everything the United States can do. Everything. From halting the 2,000-pound bombs from going over there last week. Quietly. Biden is still being accused of aiding and abetting. You know what I'd like to see the students do? You know, the divestment people, you know, the ones that march around, say divest, we will not rest, whatever it is. Yeah, stop using Google, you guys, and stop ordering things off Amazon. Don't you know why? Don't they know why? I mean, they're Ivy League students. Of course they know why I'm saying this. They know, right? Yeah, because Google and Amazon have given the Nimbus project, which is cloud computing, like a $2 billion contract they have with Israel to do cloud computing. And I don't know if you saw the story about, how the cloud, they could find people with AI in Israel that even, lived with Hamas, that lived next door to Hamas, that may have worked with Hamas, that may have been police officers that reported to Hamas, right? And they target them with artificial intelligence supplied by your favorite Amazon company. Those little, smiley faces. I think they're penises, but okay, whatever. What's the logo for Amazon supposed to be? It's a peen, right?
It's a smiley face.
It's a peen.
You got me. It's a peen for sure.
It is. Steve in L.A.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Just wanted to say I've been listening to you quite a bit, very compelled on your stuff on October 7th and beyond. I haven't agreed with every sentiment that you've had, but you've always presented it in a compelling, entertaining way that I'm always on the edge of my seat listening to. So I love it. I felt like you're a big sister to me over the years. And I love your stuff. When you said yesterday that Biden has stopped the offensive weapons going over there, I heard it from you for the first time, and I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, I don't hear it from anybody else. It's very interesting. I mean, there's a lot of hatred that's broadcast around, these parts, and I don't hear anybody saying praise to Biden for not sending 2,000-pound bombs over there.
I heard from you yesterday afternoon. I listened to the podcast, so I'm not quite on the same time as what you're doing live, but I heard it.
Yeah.
And then I also heard you talk about Cindy McCain. I saw her on 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
And you know, man, I'm so impressed by her. Cannot believe that she's Meghan McCain's mom. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole different deal. But, and you said the same thing. So anyhow, just wanted to say thank you for the reporting.
You're welcome.
On this stuff.
Thank you for letting me know that you're out there. I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you.
You got it.
Okay, so Cindy McCain, here's what Cindy McCain said. Now, I heard a piece of this, but it was edited, say. And what her sentiment was, Cindy McCain, who runs the World Food Program, is that wherever there's war, there's famine, right?
Whenever you have conflict like this and emotions rage high and things happen in a war, famine happens. And so what I can explain to you is that there is famine, full-blown famine in the north, and it's moving its way south. And so with what we're asking for and what we continually ask for is a ceasefire.
Yay.
And the ability to have unfettered access to get in, safe and unfettered access to get into the into Gaza, various ports and various gate crossings.
She's amazing. She truly is. Wherever there is conflict like this, there is famine. Now, that whole part has been cut out, and she's just been broadcast saying there's full-blown famine without context again. Now, I don't know how you're supposed to figure this out in a complex situation without context, so. You know, it's like that Buffalo Springfield song. Nobody's right when everybody's wrong. Uh-huh.